Hello, everybody. My name's Cody Skelton, and today I'm going to present my tech talk on the history of the computer in journalism. Because although it's a tool that we use very often today, after looking up the history of it, I was able to learn a little bit more about how journalists were able to use the computer to their benefit. Which brings me to the start. Um, how did journalists first use computers? Um, and to be quite simple, it was without the internet. The first time that journalists used a computer to assist their reporting was in 1952, when CBS used a processing computer to try and predict the result of the upcoming election. And even though they used the computer to help them get that information, they didn't post any of their findings in the report for that year. It actually took quite a while for the technology to catch on and to be used in a way that could be used by journalists. And by 1967, the technology had grown to more widespread use. And so they would use computers to mostly to siphon through information that would be harder to do by hand. So like public polls and things of that nature, they could use those computers to help generate that information faster than they could make it themselves. And that proved to be a very valuable tool to journalists. But it's a much different idea than what we think of computers today. By the 1990s, whenever the internet was becoming more accessible to more people, it really started to change the landscape in which journalists were able to work. Just as much so as the ability to add a photograph to a story, or the ability to call someone and to not have to meet someone in person. It was a huge revelation for the journalism industry, because the internet allowed people to communicate with one another regardless of distance. And so whereas that information would have been very hard to find before, they could now access that information with relative ease at any time during the day. So the internet really changed the landscape in which journalists worked. It made a global neighborhood. You didn't have to be physically somewhere to get the best information on it, because you had the most access to other people. And so it impacted the journalism field a lot. By the late 1990s, major news corporations were starting to post these things online. They were starting to post news articles online so that people on the internet could be just as well informed if they couldn't see the show. And so journalism really started to change by that time. And in the last 20 years, we've seen that the computer in journalism has only gotten more efficient. It's only gotten smaller and more compact and more easy to transport. In time, to add with the ability to communicate, the computer's taken over. It serves as the typewriter. It replaced the typewriter. The computer is where you write all your documents now. It's where you edit all your photos. It replaced the darkroom and the need to process film overnight, because now journalists could do it on their computer. So it started to take all these tools at tape production. You no longer had to cut tape for audio or for video from a roll of film. These are things that you could produce digitally. And the ability to do that made the journalism scape more accessible than it would have been otherwise. And that's why I believe that the computer truly did change the landscape in which journalists work, and it's continuing to improve every day. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you, and I hope you all have a great day.